What's up, basketball fans? Welcome to the Warriors Report. It's time to talk about the Toronto Raptors and why they will surprise everyone during this offseason. So if you're ready to watch this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up. And if you wish to hit the subscribe button as well, that would be very much appreciated. So with that being said, let's get into today's video. Now, as you guys know, I do like to give out shout outs on my channel, and the shout out for today's video goes out to Todd. So Todd, thank you so much for supporting this channel through your likes and comments. It is very much appreciated. Now let's talk about the Raptors because they had a season not many people expected them to have, including myself. I had them finishing top 5, top 6 in the Eastern Conference, and I had them making the playoffs, but the Raptors went the complete opposite way. They were struggling this entire season. There's a lot of confusion as to what was happening with the Raptors roster. Even NBA players such as CJ McCollum going on podcasts stating that there may be locker room issues and stating that everyone knows the Raptors are so talented, yet they're struggling so much. Now, obviously, Masai Ujiri, after the season conference where he fired head coach Nick Nurse, the same head coach that brought him a championship, he said that changes will be made. Now, obviously, the Raptors do have 3 key free agents in Gary Trent Jr., Jakob Perl, and Fred VanVleet. Now, it's going to be a little bit difficult retaining those, and I'm going to save those for another video. But obviously, many people expect the Raptors to go in a way which they think will benefit them in the long run, and that is rebuilding. Now, someone like myself who has been absolutely against rebuilding, I'll be honest with you, that is the easiest route the Raptors could take during this offseason, but I think they're going to go the complete opposite way. Not only do they owe next year's first-round pick to the San Antonio Spurs, and even if they decide to rebuild, let's be honest, guys, they're not going to be top 5 bottom in the entire league. I just don't see it. They have too much talent, and also because Masai Ujiri has never been a person to go with the narratives of what fans may be saying, what media may be saying, and what many people expect him to do. In fact, he's always done what benefits the Raptors the best, and he's always been about winning. He's not about rebuilding. He's even stating this, and I think he's going to surprise a lot of fans and maybe even upset quite a few, because a lot of fans are expecting the Raptors to rebuild, and that is not what he will do, even though that is the easiest route. Masai has never gone the easiest route. I want to show you the roster of what the Raptors looked like a season before they won the championship. And you tell me that most people, if I told you this roster would be a championship roster a season later, you would have called me crazy. I mean, taking a look at the roster here, you see the Raptors, honestly, if you told me back then that the Raptors should rebuild, that probably would have made the most sense. Kyle Lowry at this point was 32 years old and in back-to-back postseasons just got swept by the Cleveland Cavaliers. So at this point, you got a 32-year-old point guard who was the main force of their offense along with DeMar DeRozan. And at that point, I mean, let's be honest, taking a look at the roster, you got OG Anunoby, who's 20 years old. You got Jakob Poeltl, who's 22. Norman Powell, 24 years old. Pascal was 24 at that time. Jonas Valanciunas was 25. You got Fred VanVleet, who was 24. It probably would have been easier for them to rebuild, yet Masai Ujiri turned this roster. Take a look at this roster. He turned this roster into a championship roster. So why is it that we doubt he could do the same with this roster? Now, I obviously don't think the Raptors will have a quick turnaround just as it did back then. I don't think the Raptors will win the championship next year either, but it is something to build upon. I mean, Pascal Siakam is 29. Kyle Lowry did not win his first championship till he was 33 years old. And even taking into consideration that, I mean, NBA players are playing much longer into their 30s, you have to take into consideration, especially for a physically fit player like Pascal Siakam, I don't see his game declining for the next 3 to 4 years. So now that gives the Raptors 3 to 4 years to build a championship roster. But taking a look at some of the other teams as well, because anytime you're trying to compete for a championship, you have to take other teams and your competition into consideration. I want to go through a list of teams here and quickly go through some of the issues that they're having as well and why I believe the Eastern Conference is wide open and this would be the best time for the Raptors to become a little bit more competitive, obviously fix some of the roster holes as well. So let's take a look at some of the teams here in the Eastern Conference. Now let's start with the Milwaukee Bucks, because obviously the new CBA makes it very challenging to go over the luxury tax and build a championship roster as well. But taking a look here, you got Chris Middleton, who's got a player option, I believe, for $40 million, but that's a lot. Like this roster, and then you also got, let's not kid ourselves, with Brook Lopez, who is 35 years old, but will definitely ask for a significant raise over that $13.9 million, and he's been a key part of their championship run as well. So Milwaukee, I don't think Milwaukee will take a step back next year, but if they do lose Brook Lopez, undoubtedly their defense will get a lot worse. And obviously taking a few other things into consideration, like Drew Holiday and Chris Middleton's age as well. I mean, again, if you're keeping in mind that 3 to 4 year window, we need to keep in mind that these two players may not be with the Milwaukee Bucks in 2 seasons. And taking a look at some of the other teams here as well, you'd look at the Boston Celtics, which are probably the only team coming into this season that you can make an argument that they're not going anywhere. But now all of a sudden you hear all sorts of rumors about Jaylen Brown not being happy, him potentially asking for a trade, and also that he is extension eligible for a supermax where he's going to be making $40+ million. Like, you look at the salary cap issue with them as well. That's tough. Grant Williams is getting paid this offseason as well, much higher than the $4.3 million as well. So all of a sudden it becomes very complicated as to who you're going to keep. Don't get me wrong, the Boston Celtics are a really good team. Their top eight are amazing, but after that, there is a big drop off as well. And especially considering the Jaylen Brown issue as well, I think that is something you definitely need to keep an eye on. Obviously, there's other teams you could highlight as well. But again, one team I really think that didn't play up to expectations was the Atlanta Hawks as well. And same thing with them. Like, taking a look at their roster, you got someone like Trae Young, who's a really good role player. Excuse me, who's a really good player, but he's locked into a contract for quite some time. And there's all sorts of chatter about him potentially wanting out as well, him not being happy there. And then you got DeJounte Murray, who's definitely going to get a raise after next season because he's a free agent as well. So again, it creates a lot of issues regarding the salary cap as well. So you really have to question, like, are the Raptors really in such a bad position when you consider some of the other Eastern Conference teams as well? I mean, like, I want you guys to take a quick look at the standings here from this past season. I know Milwaukee's going to be good. They probably will win the championship if they bring everyone back. I think that's just my consensus. Boston Celtics, they've got a lot of, seems like, locker room issues with the Jaylen Brown situation. 76ers are good for now, but you know the whole whole narrative around them not being able to perform in the playoffs. Cleveland Cavaliers, I think they'll be a top 5 team again next year, but the issue with them is half-court offense. Besides Donovan Mitchell, who else is performing offensively for them? That's a big issue. New York Knicks, I think they had a fluke season. No disrespect to Knicks fans. I think they're good, but not as great as their record may indicate. And Brooklyn Nets, I don't see them being top 6 next season as well. So again, Miami Heat, they'll be a good team for sure. Atlanta will be as well, but there are a lot of question marks in the Eastern Conference, and I truly believe it's wide open. And Chicago Bulls, I'm going to quickly touch upon as well. They got Nikola Vucevic, who's, I believe, 33 years old, heading into free agency, and then next year's DeMar DeRozan. So what are they going to do with their roster? There's all sorts of questions surrounding so many teams. And even looking at some of the key star players in the Eastern Conference, like I mentioned with the Milwaukee Bucks, you got Jrue Holiday, who's 33 years old. You got Chris Middleton, who's 32 and heading into next season. James Harden, who I personally believe will leave the 76ers. He's 34 years old. Even if he does return, Jimmy Butler's great in the playoffs. I still think he's got another good postseason or two in him. But again, the thing is, they got to build a roster around him as well. So a lot of the key pieces around some of the top teams in the Eastern Conference are aging out. So this is the perfect opportunity for the Raptors to build upon what they have right now. I don't think they should rebuild, because rebuild guarantees nothing. Absolutely nothing. And I just think they have some really good pieces that they can build around. So look, even if we keep in mind that 3 to 4 year window, Scotty Barnes is what, 21, 22 years old. Fast forward 3 to 4 years from now, he's going to be 25, 26 years old. So it gives the Raptors a perfect opportunity to not only let Scotty Barnes develop, keep Pascal Siakam, build on what you have, fill out the bench, because we know, look, a lot of people were not happy with Nick Nurse being fired, but the last 3 seasons, the Raptors have ranked dead last in minutes played off of the bench, so they haven't really developed some of their guys as well, and I think the bench is a lot better than what Nick Nurse has shown in the last few seasons, just by killing every momentum of that bench player, by benching them after every little mistake. And I think the Raptors do have a lot of options in free agency as well in terms of sign and trade with Gary Trent Jr., Fred VanVleet. We heard rumors about Orlando Magic. Again, if he wants to win, which he should at this point of his career, I think you can sign him, trade him to a team like the Phoenix Suns. So it's not as if the Raptors are letting go some of their guys for nothing, right? They do have options in sign and trades as well, because only a handful of teams have cap space during this offseason, and most of them end up being lottery teams. So again, you get a question, right? Like, bottom 5, bottom 6 teams, is Gary Trent wanting to go there? Is Fred VanVleet wanting to go there? Absolutely not. So again, and the Raptors obviously had a really good record with Jakob Poeltl as well. Their defense was, I believe, top 5 or top 6, excuse me, in the league. So you got to build upon that, man. You've got to build upon what you have. I know it's not the sexiest option for a lot of fan bases, because it's so easy to trade away Pascal. And even I want to quickly address those rumors regarding Portland Trailblazers as well, where they're saying that apparently the Raptors' asking price is too high for Pascal Siakam and OG Anunoby. Masai absolutely loves those guys. It's so hard to find a 3-and-D. Look at the playoffs right now and tell me how many teams could have used someone like an OG Anunoby. At 3-and-D, perfect. He would fit into every playoff roster right now. Every playoff team that played this postseason, he would have fit into. I think it's key players like that you absolutely have to keep. And I personally believe I think Masai is just waiting for that chance to see if a star player becomes available, which is why he's not trading Pascal, which is why he's not trading OG Anunoby, and why the asking price is so high. Again, this is just my opinion. I know a lot of people are wanting to rebuild the Raptors, and that's the easy solution. But Masai has never been one to jump on narratives, to react based off what fans and media have wanted. Fans also wanted Pascal Siakam gone after that Tampa season, and they said just get rid of him for nothing, for whatever you can get. And now look what Pascal Siakam's doing. So that's all I got to say. I think Masai has been a patient man. He's never been one to react quickly. When you look at how many years he gave DeMar and Kyle, he gave him quite a few playoff runs. So I think he's going to build off what the Raptors have. And I'd be shocked if the Raptors rebuild. Again, this is not going to be something that many people may expect, including the media and fans alike. But this is going to be a surprising season for the Raptors fan base, as well as a lot of people who expect the Raptors to rebuild. They're not going to rebuild. They're going to continue to build. I think, unfortunately, I really do like Nick Nurse, and I don't want to put the blame on him, but they seem like the Raptors were having locker room issues. So even though fans may believe that this team is going nowhere based off of last season, you've literally got players like CJ McCollum stating that they're much better than their record indicates, which obviously states that the roster is a lot better than where they finished this season. So again, that's just my opinion. I'm very curious to hear what you guys think. Make sure to leave your thoughts in the comment section below. Fortunately, there's no trivia question for you today. If you do want a shout out, you can just comment down below. I'll give you a shout out for my next video. So that will be it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I hope you guys have yourselves a great day.